Good evening, everyone. I'm Opal Rocha, and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. Topping the news, a late-night fire at one of Bahamas Power and Light's generation plants could add to troubles for the company this summer. Cleopatra Murphy explains.
Smoke could be seen billowing from a building at Bahamas Power and Light's Clifton Power Station Friday night, where ZNS News understands the fire originated at one of the plant's engines. Police fire services were kept busy into the early morning hours, battling the fire that B.P.L CEO Whitney Hasty says was finally contained sometime around 2:30 a.m. after a DA-11 engine went up in flames.
The fire has been extinguished since, let's say, about 2:30 a.m. this morning. The damages are very hard to tell at this time because the area in which the fire took place is really uninhabitable. You really don't want to send anybody in there until that area is cooled off because of the metal. And then once it's cooled off, we'll get some folks in there to do a formal assessment of the extent of the damages.
Following that fire, burnt wires, charred walls, and equipment could be seen inside the building where the blaze occurred. Hasty says it is unclear how the fire started, but says fire services managed to put it out, but it was reignited through sparks. Despite the setback, Hasty says he does not anticipate service being impacted long term.
We did have an issue initially because the western area of New Providence is service out of Clifton Pier. And when the fire broke out, we obviously shut the entire site down just for safety reasons. So the western portion of the Providence was impacted. It was only after that we got the incident under control that we began to really try and see what was the extent of the residents being out on the western side of the island. And about 7:30ish this morning, we were able to get everybody 100% restored.
Hasty anticipates B.P.L will be able to meet load demands once all other equipment stays operational. Once the fire started, he says everyone was evacuated to ensure their safety. As for the engine that caught ablaze, at this point, he says they do not know yet if it will have to be replaced.
Until the assessment is done, you don't even know whether or not it's just a couple of wires, just a couple of metal, because you can clearly see from the door, some damage to metal inside there. So until you get in there and really do a full inspection, you really can't say.
Hasty says a full investigation is now underway to determine the exact cause of the fire. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Well, a press conference was held at B.P.L's headquarters this evening where the CEO provided some additional details on the blaze. He says the fire started on the engine deck in Station C after an operator attempted to make adjustments to an engine that had been out of service for some time. The fire then dropped down to the basement where it spread. Hasty says customers could be impacted up to the end of the week.
Realize that we will be challenged through the rest of this week as we work diligently to try and get additional assets to offset the peak demand as we move through the work week of Monday through Friday. We anticipate by Friday of this week that we will have adequate capacity to offset any demands we may have. So there may be between now and Friday the load shedding, and we do ask our customers to be diligent with us as we work feverishly to try and restore all assets from the Clifton Pier site back into operation.
Now, B.P.L's Chief Operating Officer, Christina Alston, says while B.P.L deals with the aftermath, she wants to encourage customers to think about energy conservation. Meantime, Works Minister, the Honorable Desmond Bannister, says he was kept abreast of the situation throughout the night and indicates that B.P.L is prepared to act swiftly.
Specifically on your air conditioning, if you can set the thermostat to above 78 degrees Fahrenheit, that would actually help B.P.L meet the demand. Turn off lights that are not in use, pool pumps, and also any other auxiliary electrical services that you may not need can actually help us during this time as we go into next week.
I'm very thankful that we have no injuries to our staff. Our staff of B.P.L is safe, and they work through the night also to keep the Bahamian people safe and to save these assets that we have